Greetings, my fellow Mobians out there. Oh, I'm sorry. I know we don't use that word anymore. Greetings, my fellow Sonic fans. I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, back at it again with another Sonic the Hedgehog by IDW issue review. Now, this is a special case, as this is not quite an issue, as is more of a brief preview, but I wanted to just talk about it for the most part. Just get some thoughts on how this whole situation came to be right before it finally starts to get some headway. Now, the Sonic the Hedgehog Tangle and Whisper Zero issue comes out during the, well, it's more of a early introduction to certain things, and is basically almost a backup issue to just kind of give you the reminder that this series is coming out and then catch you up with current events in terms of the IDW Sonic story. Now, it actually begins with Tangle having recently got finished with an adventure as shown in the Sonic IDW Annual, which I'll be talking about later. And, even in terms of that, she's also kind of bubbly because of her previous adventure before that as well. As we get introduced to her friend Jewel, who is a, beetle with this rainbow colored sheen, and she's just completely just bouncing off every object she can possibly find, and just getting herself tangled in a real mess with the hot dog vendor Ron. And as they go to Jewel's mineral sample museum, as Jewel apparently collects various minerals and stuff like that, a very apropos thing for her name, Tangle recounts the fact that after everything she went through with Sonic, Blaze, and the rest of the Resistance, she just can't bring herself to calm down for the most part. And when Jewel kind of suggests possibly just going out there and just doing things on her own, Tangle isn't quite sure. She doesn't have the confidence to actually go out there. And she also is worried about her home, worried about her best friend, and worried what might happen in her absence. So that shows a great deal of responsibility on Tangle's part as well. She has a very, outgoing and ready personality, but she still has this staunch responsibility to the place that she grew up in. However, this conversation is tabled as they receive an interruption from outside, which Jewel suggests might be the return of the Babylon Rogues, again, something in the annual. And as Tangle rushes outside, she finds Sonic the Hedgehog running away from Whisper, who is firing upon him. And that's where our brief issue ends. Now, to a certain degree, that's where that ends, as there's a backup recounting various elements up until this point. But that's where the real meat of it ends. Now, I didn't necessarily have to talk about this, but I also kind of wanted to, just because of the fact that I heard someone, I heard a comment that said, oh, it's the recolors, it's the fan characters, it's DeviantArt in progress all over again. But the thing about that statement ultimately I have to disagree with that, because when that statement first started to kind of surface, it came at the onset of this flood of various Sonic the Hedgehog recolors. That whole joke of put in your name, the Hedgehog, and you'll find your Sonic, Hedgehog Sona, basically. But, this idea that any kind of addition to Sonic's world is just some kind of fan character, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Just because you want to add new characters, develop ongoing branching stories, shouldn't ultimately be seen as immediate fan fiction, and that's the thing. Just having a character, be shown blossom, go on their own adventures in this world That would be almost like saying that Wolverine is a fan insert character, or Spider-Man is a fan insert character. Spider-Man wasn't around at the start of the Marvel Universe, he came in later down the line, you know? And he was introduced in, what was it, Amazing Fantasy? So, that's just the nature of comic books. That's the nature of series to begin with. Not to mention, Tangle and Whisper are two of the biggest breakout characters of this series. And that's kind of been an ongoing thing. Even during the old days of the Sonic comics with Archie, certain characters gained enough popularity to have their own books or issues dedicated to them. Like with the Sally mini-series, or the Tails mini-series, or the Knuckles mini-series. Is Tails a fan insert character because he didn't show up in the originals, Sonic the Hedgehog game? Is Knuckles, to kind of put that's how it feels like. That's the way it feels like when people just say that about characters who have different skill set, different powers, different backstories, different backgrounds, not just cribbing off of Sonic. Now, if you were to even be talking about Scourge, the whole idea about him was that he was, the inverse of Sonic. But at least with that, I can be like, well, yeah, okay, I can see your argument. Ultimately, he technically is a recolor of Sonic. There's more meaning behind it than that, but you'd be kind of right on. And maybe if you were even to say Shadow is kind of that. But when Shadow came onto the picture, he had so many differences, people just kind of rolled with it, And I think that's where these characters really stand on their own. Their differences, there's things that make them unique and fascinating to people to want to see their own adventures for these characters. And, lest we not forget, when Tangle was first shown, when the lead up to the reveal of Tangle in the IDW book was shown, people on Twitter lost their minds. Fan art was just abound about this character when she was introduced. Whisper not so much, because she had a regular introduction without much fanfare build-up, but Tangle, for the most part, is like the flagship character for the lead-in into the IDW books. And that's just kind of what happens, even in terms of other books that were adapted for the IDW series. You could even think about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series by IDW. Alopex, that character, was introduced into that series and became this massive breakout character, and even had an appearance on the 2012 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series. It was a one-time appearance, but that character had just gained so much popularity to the point where that was able to happen. And, it just makes me want to pose this question. Where do you draw the line? What constitutes as a fan character in your eyes? At what point do you go from saying that this is a fan insert character to saying that, oh, this is his own character with his own style, what mannerisms, personality, identity? What do you define as a good, just altogether setup for a character? I'm very interested, because I feel like I just don't understand why people think that just introducing a character feels like a fan insert, especially in the world of Sonic, where we don't know that much about Sonic's world. At least in terms of the game, you don't need to know too much because it's a one-off adventure. But in terms of like other media, comics, stuff like that, other media has been adding stuff to Sonic for years, since the get-go. Hell, the very first Sonic animated series was the SatAM Sonic series, which immediately added all these elements that weren't even in the games. So it just really makes me question what constitutes as, either DeviantArt OC or, a fan insert character and stuff like that. Not to mention does the fact that so many people were quite taken with Tangle when she was first introduced, does that not mean anything to people? Should that not even be taken into account? Does that just mean they're a popular OC? And is that a bad thing? I mean, this character has gone so far as to get a title series with another fairly popular character. Is that so wrong? I'm really just curious. Please tell me your thoughts in the comments section below, and let's get this discussion started. And if you liked this video, feel free to leave me a like. If you didn't, feel free to leave me a dislike. And hey, tell me what I did wrong in the comments section below, so I might better myself for future videos. And how about subscribing and hitting the bell icon? Maybe I might start doing more of these like miniature kind of one-off, like let's discuss certain concepts about various types of series. That could always be fun. And if you want to find me on social media, feel free to Google Duuz-Diz-Din. I'm everywhere, for better or for worse. And until the next video, just remember that even if you're an OC, it doesn't mean you can't tangle with the best of them. Bye-bye.